I remember the first time I fell in love. It was during my last year of high school, and everything seemed new and exciting. Her name was Emily, and she was the kind of person who could light up a room with just a smile. We had been in the same class for a while, but we never really spoke to each other until one day. Everything changed. It started on a rainy afternoon. We were both waiting for the school bus, but the rain wouldn't stop, and we were both getting soaked. I noticed that Emily was shivering, so I offered her my umbrella. She smiled, and from that moment on, we began to talk. That day, we shared stories about our lives, our dreams, and the things we love. As time went on, we started spending more and more time together. We would study in the library, have lunch together, and go for walks after school. I felt like I could be myself around her. Emily was kind, funny, and always knew how to make me laugh. I found myself thinking about her all the time. Every moment with her felt special, like something out of a dream. One day, I decided to tell Emily how I felt. It was nerve-wracking, but I knew I had to be honest with her. After school, I asked her to meet me in the park. My heart was racing as I spoke. "Emily," I said, "I think I'm in love with you. You're the first person I've ever felt this way about, and I just had to let you know." For a moment, I was scared of what she might say, but then she smiled, that same beautiful smile that I had fallen in love with. "I feel the same way," she said softly. My heart soared with happiness. We spent the rest of the day walking through the park, talking about everything and nothing, knowing that we had taken a big step forward in our relationship. From that day on, Emily and I were inseparable. My first love was something I will never forget. It was filled with sweet moments, laughter, and the excitement of discovering what love truly felt like. Even though we were young, it felt real and pure. Though life eventually took us in different directions, my memories of Emily and my first love will always hold a special place in my heart. It taught me that love is about connection, kindness, and sharing your true self with someone else. And even though first loves may not last forever, they always remain a part of who we are. After that special day in the park, Emily and I grew even closer. Every day felt like a new adventure, and we couldn't wait to see each other. We would meet early before school to have breakfast at a small cafe near our neighborhood. Sometimes we would just sit there, sipping hot chocolate, not even talking, but feeling happy just being together. On weekends, we often went for bike rides through the countryside, exploring new paths and finding quiet spots to relax by the river. I loved those moments with her, just the two of us, away from the busy world. We would talk about our future, wondering what life would look like after graduation. Emily wanted to be an artist, and I dreamed of traveling the world. We promised each other that no matter where life took us, we'd stay connected. As the school year went on, our final exams drew closer, and the pressure started to build. We spent hours studying together, helping each other with tough subjects. Even though things got stressful, having Emily by my side made everything easier. She always knew how to calm me down when I felt overwhelmed, and I did my best to support her in the same way. Our bond grew stronger with every challenge we faced. Then came graduation day. It was a mix of happiness and sadness. We were excited to finish school and start a new chapter, but we knew things would change. Emily had been accepted into an art school in another city, while I planned to take a gap year and travel before starting college. We both knew this meant we wouldn't see each other as often. We spent the entire summer together, making the most of every moment. We had picnics in the park, went to music festivals, and even had a small goodbye party with our friends. But as the end of summer approached, the reality of Emily leaving hit us both. On her last day in town, we went back to the park where I had first told her I loved her. We sat under the same tree, holding hands, and talked about all the memories we had made. No matter what happens, I told her, you'll always be my first love. Emily smiled, her eyes a little teary. And you'll always be mine, she replied. The next morning, Emily left for art school. We promised to stay in touch and call each other every day, but as time passed, the calls became less frequent. We both got busy with our new lives, and slowly the distance between us grew. Even though our relationship eventually faded, the love we shared during that time stayed with me. Emily taught me what it meant to truly care for someone, to be patient, and to love with an open heart. She showed me the beauty of first love, something that, while it might not last forever, leaves an imprint on your heart that you carry for the rest of your life. As time went on, I adjusted to life without Emily by my side. At first, it was hard to imagine a day without hearing her voice or sharing the little moments that made life special. We would still text from time to time, sending updates about our new adventures. She would send me pictures of her art projects, and I would share stories from the places I traveled. But with each message, I could feel the distance between us growing. One day, a few months after she left, I received a letter from Emily. It wasn't a long letter, but it was heartfelt. In it, she explained how much she cherished the time we had spent together. She thanked me for being her first love and for always supporting her. But there was a sadness in her words. She admitted that, as much as we loved each other, we were on different paths now. Her new life in the city was exciting, and she had met new people who inspired her art. She felt that holding on to what we had was keeping us both from moving forward. I sat with the letter for a long time, reading it over and over. Deep down, I knew she was right. We were both growing in different ways, and while our love had been beautiful, it wasn't meant to last forever. It was time to let go, even though it hurt. A few days later, I wrote back to Emily. I told her how much she meant to me, how our time together had shaped who I was. I told her I understood that it was time for us to part ways. There was no anger or sadness in my words, just gratitude for everything we had shared. I ended the letter with, "You will always be my first love, and that will never change." After sending the letter, I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and peace all at once. It was hard to say goodbye, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Life moved on, and so did I. Traveled to new places, met new people, and experienced things I had never imagined. But no matter where I went or what I did, the memories of my first love stayed with me. Years later, I found myself thinking about Emily from time to time. I wondered how she was doing, whether she had found happiness in her art and life. I didn't reach out to her, though. We had both moved on, and I wanted to respect that. But the lessons I learned from our time together, the power of love, the importance of letting go, and the beauty of the first time your heart opens up to someone, remained with me. My first love may not have lasted, but it changed me in ways I never expected. It taught me that love, even when it ends, is always worth the journey. And though we were no longer in each other's lives, I knew that the love we shared would always be a part of me. After I sent that last letter, life took its own course. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The ache of letting go of Emily eventually softened, and the memories of our time together became more like a warm reminder rather than something painful. It's funny how time works like that, turning heartache into wisdom. I started college the following year, and everything felt new again. I made new friends, explored different interests, and began to find a rhythm in my life without thinking about the past too much. Still, every now and then, something small would remind me of Emily, a song, a smell, or even a simple walk in the park. But instead of feeling sadness, I smile, grateful for what we had shared. One day, while I was sitting in a cafe on campus, I saw a familiar face walk by. For a moment, I thought it was Emily, but then I realized it was just someone who looked a little like her. I was struck by how much time had passed since we last spoke. The feeling that washed over me wasn't regret or longing, it was peace. I had truly moved on, and it felt good. As college progressed, I met someone new. Her name was Rachel, and she was nothing like Emily. Yet she brought out a different kind of happiness in me. Where Emily had been soft-spoken and artistic, Rachel was lively and adventurous. She challenged me in ways I had never been challenged before. Our relationship grew slowly, and I found myself falling for her in a way that was different, but just as real. Rachel and I built something strong together. It wasn't as idealized or dreamy as my first love with Emily, but it was grounded in trust, respect, and shared goals. We had our ups and downs, but we always found our way back to each other. What I had learned from my first love helped me to be more open, more understanding, and more patient. I knew how to communicate better, and I had a better sense of what I wanted from a relationship. Years went by, and Emily became a distant but fond memory. I heard through mutual friends that she had become a successful artist, living her dream in a big city. I was happy for her, truly. Life had taken us on different journeys, and that was okay. We were both where we were meant to be. As for me, I found love again, but this time it was more than just a first love, it was a lasting one. Rachel and I eventually got married, and as we stood together on our wedding day, I couldn't help but think of how far I had come. My heart was full, not just because of Rachel, but because of everything I had learned along the way. In the end, my first love didn't define my entire life, but it did play a role in shaping who I became. It taught me how to open my heart, how to handle loss, and how to move forward with hope. Emily had been my first, but she wasn't my last, and in that I found peace, love, and a future full of possibilities. As the years rolled on, life brought many changes. Rachel and I built a home together, surrounded by love, laughter, and a sense of shared purpose. Our relationship had its own unique depth, and every day with her felt like another step in a journey we were taking together. We faced challenges, career shifts, family struggles, the ups and downs of daily life, but we always knew how to lean on each other. From time to time, I would find myself thinking back to Emily and my first love, but the memories were no longer bittersweet. Instead, they were like pages from an old storybook, important, cherished, but from a chapter long since closed. It wasn't that I missed those days, but I understood now just how much they had meant in shaping the person I had become. The way Emily and I had loved was pure, and the way we let go was necessary. I once ran into an old friend from high school who had kept in touch with Emily. We exchanged pleasantries, and when they mentioned her name, I was curious, but not anxious. My friend told me that Emily had continued to excel in her art career and was now living overseas. She seemed happy, living the life she had always dreamed of. Hearing that made me feel a strange mix of pride and nostalgia. We had both moved on, finding happiness in our own ways. Rachel and I eventually started a family. Becoming a parent opened up a whole new world for me, one filled with joy, responsibility, and endless lessons. There were days when I'd look at our children and wonder about the future they would create for themselves, the people they would meet, and the love they would one day find. I hoped they would experience something like what I had with Emily, something pure and formative, even if it didn't last forever. One evening, while Rachel and I sat on the porch watching the sunset, we found ourselves talking about our pasts, about first loves and youthful dreams. I told her about Emily, not in great detail, but enough to convey how important that part of my life had been. Rachel smiled and said, "First loves are special, but they're meant to show us what's possible. They're not always meant to last." Her words stayed with me. Rachel understood that love, in all its forms, plays a role in shaping who we are. The love I had with Emily had taught me about tenderness, vulnerability, and letting go. And the love I had with Rachel taught me about perseverance, partnership, and building a future. As I sat there, reflecting on the twists and turns life had taken, I realized something profound. Love doesn't have to be forever to be meaningful. Every love, whether it lasts a lifetime or only a season, has its own place in the journey of our lives. My first love with Emily was a beautiful part of my story, but it wasn't the end. It was simply the beginning of a lifelong understanding of what love truly is. Looking over at Rachel, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I had been lucky enough to experience both the fleeting beauty of first love and the steady, enduring love that comes with time and commitment. Life had given me more than I ever could have imagined when I was that young boy in love for the first time, and in that moment, I knew that while my first love had been a chapter one would never forget, the love I had now was the story I would live for the rest of my life. Moral: love in all its forms teaches us valuable lessons. First love shows us the beauty of vulnerability and helps shape who we become. But lasting love is built on patience, understanding, and shared experiences. True happiness comes from embracing the love that grows over time and appreciating the role each relationship plays in our journey.